So what is training volume? So this is something that's thrown out all the time, social media, YouTube, TikTok, all that shit. What is training volume? What it really means is your sets times your reps times your weight. Now that is what the textbook would say. What my true opinion of it is how many hard sets you're doing in a session, and then that across the week. So really what boils down to is how many times are you taking yourself to failure or close to failure. And then when we talk about going to failure, that's when 1 RIR comes in, or 0 RIR. What is IR? That is reps in reserve. Reps. As a handwriting. So when we're talking about training volume, this is really what we're talking about, is how many times are you taking that muscle to failure, 2 reps in reserve. So how hard are you pushing it? And this is where it gets tricky, because when people will say, well, how much volume should I be doing? I don't know, how long is a piece of string? The tricky thing is, if you're new to training, you're pissing against the wind, you're guessing. It's a complete guess. If you're been training for a while, you've got a bit of a physique, there's some holes in your physique, then it's a little bit easier because you've been doing something. You have some muscle groups that are responding, you have some muscle groups that aren't responding, and that's when it is easy to figure out what's working and what's not working. That's the easy part. The tricky part is figuring out what you are doing that is working and what you're not doing is working. The best way to do this is becoming completely unemotional with your own physique and looking at yourself and thinking what needs work, what doesn't. If you're a young guy watching this and you're thinking, well, Kieran, I've got no muscle, I'm a frame, I'm a wee guy, I've just started training, then my approach would be running a push-pull leg split. And this is where a lot of people, I really need a better wipe. This is where a lot of people get into training splits and what works and what doesn't, and what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. Now push-pull legs, push, pull, legs. Depending on how many times you're training a week, this would allow you to train chest and shoulders, back, rear delts, biceps, chest, shoulder, triceps, back, rear delts, biceps, and then your whole legs every 4th day. So you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you get the gist. In a perfect world, recovery isn't an issue, but recovery is something we need to manage. It's something that varies like the wind, like the weather. There's going to be weeks, months, days in your training year where your recovery is tip top and bottom, and that's where training volume again comes into this. So if you respond pretty well and you recover pretty well, you can do 3 on 1 off. So that'd be off. Simple. Then you just run that. Whereas if you notice that after a couple of weeks doing this, that you're feeling tired, feeling sluggish, your lifts aren't progressing as much as you'd like. The first maybe 2-3 weeks you're progressing, but after that it starts to kind of plateau, but you're genuinely showing signs of overtraining, like lack of appetite, lack of motivation, just like a sluggishness, then I would say, personally if it was me, that your recovery is a bit shit. Now instead of looking at everything that you're doing, you can just simply adjust your training volume. So obviously if you're doing push-pull legs, you're doing 3 on 1 off, that's a higher volume than this. So in a training week, this being your training week, you're having 2 rest days instead of 1. Nice. And again, this is purely down to the fact that the hard sets you do on your leg day are going to be more detrimental, they're going to be more fatiguing than the hard sets you do in push and pull. That is it. Simple as that. So often when someone is needing to bring their legs up, and more cases than not they do, legs is the session that burns you in the week. So this is the one that fucks you, and that is the exact reason that we have a rest day before it and after it. So you're fresh going into it, and then the day after, when you feel battered, you're not having to go to the gym, you're getting fresh. So then come push and pull, you're ready for it. Now that is how I would run a training split for someone that's completely fresh to the gym. Now Kieran, why would you not run an upper lower or a full body? And this is where I kind of take you into the weeds. I really need to get a better. Not really. This is where I take you into the weeds of it all. Because many times I get asked these questions. It's not a simple yes or no, it's this or that answer. So you have two methods. So you want upper lower, and then full body. Then I'll put my third one. That's full body. So, now there's pros and cons to all of these, but the reason I'm not a huge fan of these two is purely because if you're lacking muscle, if you're fresh to the gym, your ability to contract and feel and connect to muscle groups is going to be completely lackluster. You're completely fresh to this. It's something you've never done before. And as much as it's not an overly skilled technique to do a chest press, to do a squat, to do a deadlift, there is technicalities and there are nuances to doing them. If there wasn't, no one would have a job as a PT. You wouldn't need strength coaches. You just go and train and all of a sudden everyone would be strong as fuck straight away. But there are nuances to doing these things. That's the reason why some people have real good legs and some people don't. Some people have real good backs, some people cannot grow their back. The reason is the ability to grow that muscle, the genetic standpoint, and then that person, how they connect it and how they train it. Doing upper lower or full body, you're going to be doing a little bit of work across the week for each muscle group. Versus push pull legs, you're doing a lot more than these two across the week. Now, I don't know about you, but when it comes to anything I've struggled with, I don't pick it up if I do 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, a couple minutes that day, a couple of minutes yesterday. I bury myself, I sink myself into said task until I really understand what I'm doing, and then I've caught it. I use this analogy a lot with clients. It's ironic because I don't drive, but two ways you can learn to drive. You're getting lessons all the time, or you do the fast pass. With the fast pass you're doing, it's usually I think around about 40 to 50 hours, whatever it is. I may get proven wrong in comments. You're doing a lot of hours across a short period of time, and then you do your test, and more likely than not people pass the test. That is this. You're doing more for chest here than you will here. You're doing more for back here than you will here. You're doing more for legs here than you will for here. And that's why I personally think push pull legs is better. Now, if there is a issue with getting to the gym, if you're doing something else, you're playing football, or you got like wife and kids and something, then doing full body a couple of times a week or upper lower a couple of times a week may suit you better. But if you are in pursuit of growing as much muscle tissue as possible and wanting to grow an actual physique, then I truly believe push pull legs is far superior. And again, this is where it comes into a genetic standpoint and what you connect and what you don't connect to. Let's say you connect really well to chest and quads, but you don't really feel your shoulders, you don't really feel your back, you don't really feel your hamstrings. The chest work is different. Use a different pen. The chest work that you do here and here, 7 legs, is going to work real well. But then when you're doing anything else here and anything else here, it's going to be lackluster. Versus doing push-pull legs, again, if you notice that on your push day you respond really well, and on your leg day you respond really well, then you just adjust your volume and adjust it so you're doing. I really need a blue pen, but I don't know what it is. So then you do more here and less there and there. I think that makes sense. And that's what I mean when it comes to what is training volume, how to manage your training volume, or rather how to adjust and set up your training plan for that. Now let's get into more like a specific part of it. In a just general basis, 10 sets, 8 to 10 sets a week for that muscle group is more than enough. Now for push, that could look as simple as this. I'll just do push because it's simple and everyone likes doing chest. Dumbbell press. Push down. So say that would be your session. So you got chest, delts, tries, chest. You see the pattern. Delts, tries. And in terms of your volume, you just spread it across the week, across the session. So you'd maybe do 3 sets, 3 sets, 3 sets, and then because it's a little bit less fatiguing, fuck, I hate that word, you do 4, 4, 4. So across your push session, you're doing 8 sets for everything. So 8 sets for chest, 8 sets for delts, 8 sets for tricep. Nice and simple. Now again, if you notice 4 weeks time, oh my triceps are looking a bit, I look a bit naff, but I'm really connected to delts, my shoulders are really starting to respond. Then guess what? You just do this. Nice and simple. You lower your shoulder volume. Rather than 8 sets for shoulders, you're doing 5. Simple. And then for triceps, and say, oh, I actually seen this movement, I'm going to start doing this other movement. You do overhead. Sweet. But you don't want to drop your dips, because that's working. So that was 3. And you don't want to stop your push downs, because that was working, that's what you were doing. So the additional volume, because now you have freed up some space on your recovery, for example. Best way to think of it. So you've dropped this, so you're doing another 2 sets. So the 2 sets you're now not doing for shoulders, you're now doing for triceps. Nice and simple. And that's how you let it out. And you can use this approach, this method, to lay out a session and then track your volume with any session. If there's a whole chest session, you could do it. If it was an upper row session, you could do it. If it was a full body session, you could do it. You just adjust it that way. Plain and simple. Now the amount of total sets, this is where my pure math comes in. 8 times 8, 16, 24. So you'd be doing that's for your push session. Now, let's say your back responds better for For back, you might end up doing 18 sets for pull, sorry. And then legs may be the same. So then you're able to look at what you're able to recover from across the week. So I am not good at maths. Do it real quick. So that's 66 sets across the week. That's 3 sessions. And that's spread across your whole fucking body, your whole musculature, just trying to get big. So then, sweet, if you're recovering from that, if you're recovering from the 66 sets, and again you're noticing anything here, so push, pull. If you're noticing anything in these sessions isn't responding, and this is okay, you can add to it. You can add to here, or here, or here. Or if it's not working, you deduct from it. It really isn't complicated. You have to remember that what your training volume, whatever that is, that directly correlates to how much you're able to recover from. It's not what you do in the gym, it's what you recover from. It's as simple as that. So if you aren't recovering, if you're showing signs of fatigue all the time, if you're tired all the time, if you have no appetite, no drive to go to the gym, then you're probably doing too much. Now, if your lifestyle is somewhat poor, if you're not eating right, you're not sleeping right, you're drinking all the time, you hate your job, you're stressed, all these other external factors, you have to take that into consideration before you're like, oh, I'm doing too much volume. And I think that is where people go wrong. Because if your sleep is poor, I keep changing hands. So just as I started to get into the recovery stuff, my camera died annoyingly. So what I was talking about in terms of internal and external factors. So your training, your lifestyle, and your environment. That's all external. So this could be good training plan, and then the rest of it could be utter shit. Really bad lifestyle, really bad environment. Something just fell on my desk. And then internal, that is things like your sleep, your hydration, stress, and your internal ability to manage it, and then your diet. These are all things that extremely down to you. So let's say your sleep is poor, your hydration is poor, your diet is poor, but you manage your stress pretty well. Right, before you look at adjusting your training volume and all that jazz, and thinking, oh well, this isn't responding, so I need to lower my training volume. Look at everything that's going on with regards to your recovery. Like if your sleep shit, your hydration shit, you're barely eating on plan, like you're not taking enough protein in, you're not in a calorie surplus or a deficit properly, you're not tracking your food, whatever it may be. And your lifestyle shit, you're out all the time, you're drinking, taking God knows what else, and then your environment is shit, as in you're stressed out at work, whatever it may be. Well, solve half of this shit, fix all this, turn this all to green. So, green. And hey presto, all of a sudden, those 66 sets that you're using in your training program, that could increase like fuck. from a simple adjustment to everything else you're doing. And this is where I think I forget that a lot of people don't realise is everything is in sync. Everything you do matters. Everything you're doing with your diet matters to training, with your supplements matters to training, at home with the missus, or whatever you're doing, that matters to this.